No rush. I thought about it right through
One of those fields out of
the side. Hits the roll first, and then the other one. So then it causes the twins. Another dog first gives you a little pressure shimmy.
but there's so many problems.
And the first few times,
Right now. We're like, well,
it didn't take me down.
dog parties. Out of the way.
Yeah. So actually, it was like,
Oh,
it's just
like,
Chief says it's right there, but.
he's got our back. But yeah, you can throw another 400.
You ready,
Yeah.
Jack?
And a trailer on the other side.
28
seconds.
by 9.
I've always been afraid.
You're ready to get you on the road. You're done.
Hit the road, Jack. What if you worse than that? Lose a good. So what's that thing gonna do to the
I got my eye
pad?
on it.
Every scenario there to go with the sidecar too. Oh, yeah.
They win. Now.
First.
This is
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated.
Okay. Councilmember Kelly. Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Best.
Here.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Here.
And Mayor Croft. On the screen.
All right. Introduction. Come on up.
Where did you want me at?
Yeah, over here at the podium, Chief, Sheriff.
Mayor and Council, this is our Sheriff Scott Masher, soon to be retired Sheriff Scott Masher. And he's gonna tell you guys about a fallen officer memorial that he's been planning for the courthouse square. And I'll just let him explain it and do it better than I can.
Maybe one of those first ones. Well, good evening. Thank you very much for having me come by. Chuck called me, asked me to come by if I'd explain what we're doing with a law enforcement officer memorial. This is something that is long overdue. For probably the last 10 years or so, I've been trying to get Board of Supervisor approval from the county to put a memorial at the plaza, the county seat in Prescott, that would represent fallen officers from all across the county. So it's not just the sheriff's office. And this also would include detention officers. Currently, I believe we're at 18 officers from the early territorial days from all across the county. And the Board of Supervisors, this Board of Supervisors unanimously approved the location on the plaza for the memorial. This, you can probably, if you don't mind, show a few different ones, but this is a rendering that was done by a pretty renowned artist named Bill Nebeker. You guys may have heard of Bill. He's done bronzes around the nation and some other out-of-country bronzes as well. So Bill was brought in. He was happy to do a rendering for us, and this is the rendering. We put a committee together, and he put this, this is just a smaller size, and the spelling on the bottom wasn't correct. It says least forget there, but it should be lest forget. So everybody, and so we told Bill to fix that. He did, but that's only about a 12, 14-inch rendering there. Now, this is actually two bronzes. It's set on the plaza just off, if you're looking at Bucky O'Neill's statue, it's off to the right. There's a little area there. This rendering of a traditional Western lawman will be looking down at an empty pair of cowboy boots on another rock. So this bronze will be on a local granite boulder, and then it's going to be life-size, looking down at an empty pair of cowboy boots, and there will be a bronze plaque which lists the names of all the agencies who have lost an officer in the line of duty. The last of which was a highway patrol DPS officer up in the Sedona area who was killed just 4 or 5 years ago, if I remember correctly. So that's what it is. The bronze, Bill's given us a great deal on it. He's working with the Prescott Valley Bronze Smith there in Prescott Valley. And he's given us $80,000 for the full 2 bronzes. The rocks have been donated by some local people. We've got donations of putting the rocks out there and leveling them off to mount the things. I believe as of today, we actually, because of the COVID, stopped trying to get money for this. And how you doing? It's been a while. And so we didn't try to go out and raise money during the worst of the COVID. And about a month ago, we decided, okay, we'll go out and see what we can do. And I believe as of this morning, I was up to getting close to $70,000 of the $80,000 for the bronze, just in the last month or so. So that was really good to see the support that we're getting from across the county. We'll probably need a little more than $80,000 because of the plaque. There'll be a fence around it and things like that. But really, that's what it is. Thank you for letting me come and tell you about it. I think it's going to be a wonderful thing for just generations to come. Unfortunately, I do believe that, additional names will be added on. And I believe, I'm not sure, Chuck, if you have any. I don't remember the list.
We don't have any from the PD, but Trooper Marston is.
That's right. That's right. With Ronnie Mays. Yeah, Ronnie Mays, who's still here. Ronnie will tell you about that story. But anyway, that's what it is. I appreciate you letting me come and tell you about it. If the town of Chino is able to donate something, that's great. Very much appreciated. But I'm excited anyway that we're almost there. Bill is actually over in Prescott Valley now, working on the life size. He told me he knows I'm gone at the end of December. I live just down the road over here, which I love Chino Valley. But he's hoping to have it done before I leave, which would be great. We do an unveiling sometime in December at the plaza, which would be great. If not, hey, I'll come back for this. But thank you all very much. If there's any questions or anything. They can go to, we have a GoFundMe account, and a lot of this money is $20, $50 coming from folks all across the county to the GoFundMe account. And, I really apologize. I've been running like crazy even to get here today. I don't remember what the exact GoFundMe, YCSO, Fallen Officer Memorial, something like that.
Get it back to your chief.
I'll get it to the chief. And again, thank you all very, very much. Checks can go right to the office. I'll get them that info too. And that's what it is. I certainly appreciate it. And nice to see you all.
All right.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, everybody. See you all later.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care.
Let's go. On any issue within the jurisdiction of the council that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. Total time for call of public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited, directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and discussion at a later date, or responding to the criticisms. Do we have anybody that would like to speak and call to the public on anything that's not currently on the agenda? Hearing no one, we will proceed on to current events and summaries. This item is for information only. The mayor and any council member or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events. If listed below, there may also be a presentation on information requested by the mayor and council, and questions may be answered. No action will be taken. Status report by the mayor. I don't have anything. Mike, you have something.
Yes, I'd like to announce to our citizens that Simple, our local roads, has contributed $63,000 towards our signal at 1 North.
Good. Good.
Very good.
And that's what that was part of an agreement we wanted to have with Sempo. They'd help us with that.
Yes,
Great. Passed it.
in addition to what they're already paying.
Yeah. Cool. Anybody else in the council? Status reports by town managers to see agreement regarding town's accomplishments or current or upcoming projects. Or events.
Sorry. No, I don't have anything for this evening. We have a full agenda. So,
You don't have any? Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Report regarding Proposition 450, alternative expenditure limitation, or call home rule option. Mr. Duffy?
Hello, I'm Joe Duffy.
Your hair.
I know.
She's going to take.
Yeah, Joe asked me to stand in for him today, so I guess I get a lunch out of it, right? As everyone knows, most likely Prop 450 is on the August 4th ballot. Anybody who got an early ballot has already seen it on there, but we are still presenting it just in case people are still trying to figure out what it's all about. So the overview is way back in 1980, for those of you who remember 1980, Arizona voters approved a constitutional amendment prescribing an expenditure limitation for counties, cities, towns, and community college districts. The purpose of the expenditure limitation was to control expenditures and limit future increases in spending. For those of you who are from California, this was Arizona's answer to Prop 13, if you remember that one. Basically, all of the cities and towns in Arizona started under the state-imposed expenditure limitation, which was what the constitutional amendment was all about. But something that came up that happened very quickly is Arizona was growing in the mid-'80s, and the formula that was developed for the expenditure limitation was actually limiting cities and towns and college districts from using the funds that they were actually receiving. So the legislature enacted alternatives which the voters of cities and towns could then approve to help meet the local needs. As for Chino Valley, we were under the state-imposed expenditure limitation until 1985, and by then the town had already figured out it wasn't working well for us. So the town government then went to the citizens to approve the home rule option, which is one of the expenditure limitations. And basically the voters have voted to continue that every year, every 4 years since 1985. And our current option expires in June 2021, so it's on the ballot again, so we can determine how we're going to cap our expenses for next year. There are a few options with the expenditure limitation. There's the state limit, which is that original formula. There's one called the permanent base adjustment, which many cities and towns are now using. It's almost half and half with permanent base and home rule. Permanent base allows a municipality to actually increase the base limit that's used to expenditure limit. Home rule basically allows a town to set its expenditure limitation based on our own projected revenues and what our projected expenses are for the year. And as we said earlier, we've been doing this since 1985. It has worked well for Chino Valley. So, bottom line is, under the state-imposed expenditure limitation, regardless of the revenues that we receive, which we anticipate to be around 24 million this next fiscal year, under the state-imposed limit, we would only be able to spend a little under 10 million. And the issue with that is that even though we would receive the 24 million in revenues, we would only be able to use the 10 million and the rest of it would sit in the bank with us being unable to use it for 2 years. This is a picture of what it would look like if home rule does not pass. Basically, most of the services that you see in the top tier of the left stack would most likely not be able to open. We wouldn't be able to provide those services. So there is quite a difference there. Question is, who do you want to control the town's future? Do we want the town's future to be controlled by a formula developed a long time ago, 1980, based on 1980 data? And just for comparison purposes, in 1980, the town's budget was $255,000. That was it. So big difference. We've grown quite a bit, and we're providing a lot more services than we did in 1980. And the state would set our spending cap. Or do you want local control, where our council, based on input from citizens during public hearings, allows us to set our own spending cap based on our revenues? Just to make sure everybody is clear on this, if home rule, we can spend more than what we get. Either way, we have to maintain a balanced budget. And home rule has nothing to do with anybody's taxes. Home rule does not allow us to raise taxes, set a property tax, has nothing to do with that. It's just about our basic revenues and what we can do with them. On your ballot, a yes vote will allow us to set the spending cap based on our actual revenues and local needs for the next 4 years. A no vote will require us to set our spending cap on the state formula for 2 years. And there's lots of information out there on our website for anybody that's still unsure about it. Voting registration, households with a voter in it, a registered voter, has received the pamphlet. The pamphlet has a nice question and answer section in there to answer a lot of those questions. We sent out a very brief mailer, also just letting people know what the very basics of it were. There's a brochure on the website, and we actually have brochures out here in our lobbies. There's for anybody that really wants to dig into it and they want to know the Greek and the Latin, that's in the frequently asked questions document. And we have videos and podcasts and other more detailed presentations during the public hearings that were given in March and April on council meetings. So does anybody have any questions?
Questions? Hearing none, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
You bet. Oh,
Good
Joe
job.
threw in a last one there I wasn't expecting.
That's the last meeting, right? that you have?
Yes, because the election is next week.
Yep.
We will know next week. Oh, Joe, he threw in more than he told me he was going to be there.
Surprise.
Yep, surprise.
Well, he's not here for Jack Cat.
Yeah, we'll wait. This is just showing how many municipalities, so you can see the home rule and permanent base are almost equal. And there are a few that are still on the state limit because they haven't changed much in 30 years. And there's the formula. Okay, Joe.
Let's go. For the consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Does anyone want to pull any item off the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion, we approve consent agenda items A, B, and C as written.
Second it.
I have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go on to action item 6. The first one is on page 31A, a public hearing and consideration and possible action to adopt lot area. Zoning with a planned area development overlay zoning district. Mr. Cook, well, God, Mr. Cook, you're wrong.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. There are two. This project to SR 0 with the planned area development. And the second is the staff felt there was or confusion. The applicant and attendance tonight. The subject West Road 2 South and State Route 89. A couple of the surrounding residential developments include Wagon Wheel Ranch subdivision, which is a 1-acre subdivision, Chino and Parkside, which is anywhere from a 1/4 acre to a 1/3 acre lot size subdivision. The property itself 320 feet and it is currently zoned agricultural residential, 5-acre minimum. Previously, the property was used as a single-family agricultural. However, at the end of 2019, the applicant acquired a demo permit through the town and effectively removed all structures on the site. The town's general plan designates the subject to be residential. This is also the same for the properties to the east and west. However, to the north and south, commercial multifamily. This north with its lot size, or a half-acre lot size development. Under current town code, the only this zoning district, in conjunction with the conceptual plan, will restrict this development as well through the conceptual plan. Any drastic changes made to this development or proposed to this development will require the developer to come back through for council approval. As you can see here, the surrounding zonings of the property is primarily AR5. You do have the nonconformity subdivision of Chino Gardens to the west, or to the east, excuse me. They have a SR1 zoning, but 34 of the 37 lots there right in existence today is half-acre. 2 of them are 1 acre. It's still in conformance with their zoning stipulations. You've got Wagon Wheel Ranch over here to the southwest, Bee Mountain Estates over here, and then Parkside Village. The preliminary plat itself is a proposed 15-lot subdivision. The average lot size of these 15 lots will be 21,796 square feet. It has a density of 1.54 homes to the acre, and has an open designation at the north end of the proposed subdivision of 0.77 acres. Small item to note on the our proposed conceptual plan here is the north arrow. It is in reference to the location map and not the site map itself. So you're actually looking, top of the page for this site is going to be west, east, north is right, south is left. And at the close of the presentation, I'll bring up a clearer version of the plat map so we can open it up for discussion. There are a couple of the building elevations that are being proposed for this development here. Got roughly 7 proposed styles of home for this area. Request is to stipulate or is to achieve a
planned area development for this property. This request was to alleviate the lot dimension standards and setbacks solely on lot 1. Town code asks that all lots not exceed a 3-to-1 length to width ratio. The applicant has indicated that the proposed lot layout, let's roll back here, of exceeding the 3-to-1 ratio here is necessary to accommodate the 100-year flood that inundates this property. The second stipulation or alleviation that the applicant is requesting is a modified setback along the southern property line of lot 1. Town code requires it to be 25 feet. The applicant is asking for alleviation to 10 feet. To offset these proposed alleviations, the applicant is proposing the open space area of 0.77 acres over here. This open space area is intended to house a large diameter gazebo and as well as fully landscaping. And then he is also proposing additional landscaping along the eastern boundary of the proposed subdivision. All of these amenities will be maintained by a private homeowners association staffed by the community itself. So the general area supports a medium density single family residential development based on the surrounding area. The developer's proposal is intended to mirror the lot size of the development to the east, Chino Gardens. This subdivision was originally planned to be 19 1-acre lots. However, due to lot splits, the subdivision primarily consists now of the half-acre lots. Although the applicant is requesting the SR 0.16 zoning district, more than half-acre in size, with the surrounding area. However, the open areas significantly exceeds those of the surrounding developments. Conformance regarding, I actually missed over the general plan conformance. Apologize, I'm going to back up here a little bit. The project does conform to the general plan. The general plan designates it as medium density residential. As stated previously, the lots will be no smaller than half-acre, and this is tied to the rezone as well as the preliminary plat. Directly north and south of this development, or proposed development, the general plan calls out specifically for multifamily and commercial. So you could be looking at high-density development north and south of this property. Staff has concluded that this meets the intent of the medium-density residential designation. So on to the proposed preliminary plat conformance. This preliminary plat brought forward by the applicant meets all requirements set forth in section 5.2.3 of the Unified Development Ordinance. This project will be accessed by mainway of West Road 2 South. City of Prescott Water will be providing the water, and then this development will be utilizing private septic systems. The Development Services Department as well as Public Works Department have completed their reviews on this and are okay forwarding a recommendation to Town Council for approval. Upon approval of the project will go through technical review followed by the final plat. So in conclusion, staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to Town Council of Ordinance 2020-883 for the request to approve the rezoning of approximately 10.54 acres of real property from AR5, Agricultural Residential 5-acre minimum zoning district, to SR 0.16 PAD, Single Family Residential 7,000 square foot minimum zoning district with a planned area development overlay zoning district with the following stipulation. Farming and agricultural uses are allowed on the property along with the keeping of non-household animals as defined in town code, with the exception of animals requiring a minimum of 1 acre or larger. And then the second recommendation regarding the preliminary plat, staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to Town Council to approve the Wesdemar Farms preliminary plat, subdividing approximately 10.54 acres into 15 lots with an average lot size of 21,796 square feet developed over one phase. And with that, I will open it up to questions or discussions, and I will pull up a clear picture of the preliminary plat. Or hopefully to kind of direct questions in the right way.
The process here is going to be, the council is going to ask any questions that they want to ask in discussion with staff. Then we will go to a public hearing. It will be open for 1/2 hour. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak, and it's limited to 1/2 hour. We will come back after that for any questions or discussion with the council and anyone during this public hearing, and then we will take a vote on this recommendation. So let's start with, anyone have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I do. You had mentioned that the developer was talking about landscaping on the south side of the property, is that correct?
East.
East side. East side. Yeah, he's providing it both along the southern boundary as well as east. The southern boundary landscaping is required by town code. The one along the eastern boundary is an additional amenity that he's providing.
Well, I just, for clarification with some other council members, there was talk and people supported a block wall and other people were against a block wall and whatnot. Was that brought up? What is the developer?
Yeah, the developer's here and I will turn that over to him if council is okay with that.
Sure, please answer.
Mike? Hi.
So your question is some sort of screening device?
Well, we, as you're probably aware through the process, we got a ton of emails and input from citizens, and a lot were asking for a block wall and some were against a block wall. And so I'm intrigued as far as you're offering landscaping on that eastern border.
So my intention is not to build a block wall along that eastern boundary. My intention was to create a landscaping amenity there. But if I had to provide some sort of screening device, there are existing wood fences that are on some of those parcels in Chino Gardens. But from the 2 meetings that I've been at, I think that I think it's relatively split as to what homeowners along that east boundary actually want. I think some would consider having a screening amenity. I think others would say no. So I'm happy to provide some form of screening amenity, but I'm not here today to say I'm going to build a 1,300-foot block wall there.
Okay. Other questions? Are you finished?
Yeah. Thank you.
The water, will you be drilling wells?
No, sir. The water for this project is going to be provided by the city of Prescott. So this parcel of land has 10, it comes with 10 water units or 10 dwelling units of water. And my intention is to purchase 5 more to meet the 15 unit requirement.
And then will it be public sewer or will it be septic?
It will be septic systems.
Okay.
Each home will have a septic system.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have one for Will.
Yeah, go ahead.
Will, what's the boxes on the lots?
Those are the proposed building envelopes for the developers proposing to
That's
construct.
the building portion, the buildable portion of the lot. Is that what you're saying?
The buildable portion defined by the developer's intention and setbacks as well included inside that.
Anyone else?
So
Mike has something.
that would be the front doors, essentially.
Correct. So
This side.
this whole rectangle is not the size of the house. So it's just a buildable area. I believe from prior meetings, you intend to stagger the homes as far as they're not all going to be in one row. They're going to be staggered back and forth. But yes, essentially the front of the house will face east.
You answered my question. They've got some beautiful homes in here pictured, and I just wondered if they were all facing that road that they have out there. So all these homes will be facing the road in which they are built to.
to speak to that.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I mean, square's kind of, that's a long, narrow house if you,
So let me clarify a few things on the plat, the presented plat. So you see two rectangles. You see a rectangle that goes from property line to property line, from the road essentially to the west boundary. So that would signify the lot itself.
Right.
Inside that rectangle is another rectangle which represents the building pad or the building area. So if you were to say each lot was an average of 21,700 feet, that rectangle inside the larger rectangle is plus or minus, let's call it 15,000 feet. So we're talking about building 2,000-foot homes within the smaller rectangle. So those homes likely will face the access point, which is the road along the east boundary, but we intend to stagger those within that building envelope to create a neighborhood effect. We do not intend to press them to the front of each of those building envelopes up against the street. The layout of that plat was to provide two things. At the east side of the plat, where the road is accesses Road 2 South, the road, the landscape boundary, and then the part of the lot that would be the front yard is intended to create a buffer between this subdivision and the subdivision to the east, which is Chino Gardens. Likewise, the area that is outside of the building envelope on the west side is intended to create a buffer between our subdivision and the neighbor to the west. So essentially those homes will be staggered somewhere in the middle of those lots, where we will have large rear yards, but also relatively large front yards.
Question? Any other questions?
So will you be building each of these homes?
Yes, sir.
Corey?
Not at this point.
Any other? Chris?
No.
Okay. What I'd like to do now is I need a motion to open a public hearing.
I'll make a motion, we open a public hearing.
Second. Have a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is open. Each person that comes up to speak will have 3 minutes. That's it. And then it will be 30 minutes long maximum. At the end of this public hearing, we will close the public hearing and we will open up questions again from the council, anybody they'd like to speak to.
Mayor,
Yes.
I want, there is an overflow up there, is that correct?
We have about 5 people that are in the back room right here. Officer Busy and I are communicating back and forth. So as soon as
I just wanted to make sure if we could rotate them in.
Yes, if one wants to come speak, but remember, we only have, it's 3 minutes each, and you have 30 minutes, so it'd be nice if you had a spokesperson that would cover for most of the people. And if you have that, I see a head shaking out here, we do have that, which is good. Please try not to repeat over and over and over the same. We've gotten a lot of great letters from all of you, we've gotten emails and things, so I think we're all pretty well aware of what's going on. So, who wants to speak first? Let's have our spokesperson. Who's our spokesperson? You. Come up and give us your name.
My name is Michelle Belverud, and I have to speak really quickly, so I want y'all to listen really quickly.
Okay, we listen fast.
Okay, I have some slides. Oh, oh, you're doing it.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Repeat your name, please.
Michelle Belverud, Belverud.
Stop the timer until we can get the her slides up there, please.
I think it's on the desktop.
Probably should just reset it once we get it.
Yeah, we'll reset it.
Yes. But don't bring that up completely yet, please.
Tell me when you're ready. Reset the timer, please.
Okay, I'm nervous.
Oh, we all. We've been doing this a while.
All right, so after the P&Z meeting, I went home and I began researching, and I researched the Chino Valley General Plan and what the community found important, and I researched all of you to see where you come from and what you desired in your living space. Most of you moved here to the wide open, smaller town of the beautiful community that is Chino Valley from somewhere else. The developer says he has lived in Chino Valley for 50+ years, but his businesses and interests seem to lie in Prescott. He does have a beautiful piece of property that is backed up against state land with lots of wide open space. My husband and I are both from Arizona. I grew up in Maricopa on a farm before Maricopa became a small city. I graduated from high school there and I went into the Army from there. I remember hating that wide open, ugly brown and yellow land as a teenager, but with each year that I spent of my 22 years in the Army, the desire to return to that raw beauty that is Arizona kept coming back to me. What you moved here for and what you have here is what I moved here for and what I desire. Last year, my husband and I closed on our house on West Damien Loop. We walked through the backyard with established fruit trees and grapevines, a place for a large garden, a chicken coop, and possibly goats. A beautiful view of Granite Mountain and some of the most amazing sunsets I have ever seen. With 2 houses placed behind my home, I will not see those amazing sunsets, nor have the beautiful view of Granite Mountain. I have made up slides for what the developer will do to the 10.5 acres behind Chino Gardens. Okay, the first one, please. Bear in mind that the properties that will surround those houses are currently owned and resided in, and the 15 houses will be out of place and take away our wide open space that we all moved here for. Additionally, while West Damar is 10.5 acres, the 15 houses that will go up will actually be on approximately 9.5 acres because of the 0.77 acres for the wrong and the 0.10 for the setback alleviation. The developer is asking for a zone change, a setback alleviation, a change to the frontage within the pad due to the required subdivision layout for minimum impact on the floodplain, and an exception to the lot dimensions of a 3-to-1 ratio on all lots. I looked at the area of the entire neighborhood and I see a large swath. This is the entire neighborhood. This is the large swath of land and wide open space, and in those 15 homes that are jammed in behind that small space. So this is what it actually would look like based on what we have, or what he is proposing currently. So my questions for you are you going to give a greater precedence to floodplain requirements rather than the aesthetic effect to all the Chino Gardens residents and surrounding neighbors? Are you going to conform to the developer subdivision plan instead of the developer subdivision plan conforming to the zoning rules and regulations in place against the wishes of the neighboring properties? I do have a compromise.
Quickly.
I'm sorry, for those 9.5 acres. We would prefer, he would put 2 houses back there, but we would settle for 9 behind each one of our houses. And I ask that you, as our representatives and representatives of the town of Chino Valley, would consider the residents over the developer. I also ask that you go back to the Chino Valley General Plan that was adopted by the town council and look at what is important to the community. And I thank you for this time.
Thank you. Miss Manning, you're next. Tell us your name.
Lisa Corbell. I was looking at your subdivision regulations for a size A, Schedule A subdivision. And so I'm seeing on section 570E, sewage disposal, minimum requirements shall be if an existing collection system is not available, then an engineered treatment and collection system shall be required. And then it does say that if the public sanitary sewer shall be installed in areas which are reasonably accessible to existing sewer system, or if the lot in bold on your regulations sizes are 1/2 acres or less. So I'm scratching my head trying to figure out how. I listened tonight to see if anything was addressed to this. And I actually wrote each of you personally a letter, and that's a very real concern. Everybody remembers Chino Meadows. I'm assuming that was a pretty significant cost to the town. And I don't know why this subdivision has to be half acres. It could be 1 acres. I know it's more money. If we were developing it, we wouldn't get half acres. And so I'm not sure why that code right there is being violated. And then I did hear, well, I remember recently we had a vote for money to fix roads. So if there's not enough money to fix roads, I'm not sure how the town is going to address a Wildcat subdivision down the road when the Department of Environmental Quality addresses that with the town, as they did with Chino Meadows, and to a significant cost, which costs all of us taxpayers. And then actually tonight, as you were talking, you were saying that this significantly exceeds the surrounding area, or that it matches what is surrounding it. And I don't know that the Department of Environmental Quality would want the match to be to a subdivision as Chino Meadows, is it called? Its homes are 30 plus years old, maybe, or older. I don't know how old they are, but I don't know that that would be your legal model to move forward with this. And then down the road, the citizens, taxpayers, all of you have to do what happened in Chino Meadows to address the sewer issue, bring the sewer or expand the lots. I don't know why this has even got this far without that one question being glazed over. So you should not be conforming to the subdivision that was set in there when things were not even a town. That's a big deal. It was back when you had to rectify the Chino Meadows, and it's a big deal now and going forward.
Thank you very much for your input. Appreciate it. Is there another person that would like to speak? Please come up. Give us your name.
Hello, my name's Chris. I'm here speaking on behalf of my wife Jennifer and myself. I'd be lying if I were to say we're excited about this potential subdivision. We're not, but we're also not naive. We know that at some point someone will build something on this piece of land. Whether it's the proposed development or something else in the future, we know it will come. We voiced our concerns at previous meetings about what has been proposed, that it is not keeping with what with the area around it. We'd like to see larger lot sizes that supports the agricultural lifestyle of this community. If this cannot be accomplished through the current zoning regulations, then we ask that you would consider tabling this decision until changes are made to the zoning regulations that allow for something that's more fitting with the community around it. Earlier this summer, the Chino Valley Review put out an article highlighting the benefits and the virtues of an agricultural lifestyle in Chino Valley. This is what draws people to our community. This proposed development is the complete opposite of that and goes against everything that is Chino Valley. Mayor Croft, you recently said in regards to face masks that you would not issue a mandate in Chino Valley because, and I quote, what is best for Phoenix and other metro areas is not necessarily the best for small rural communities.
I did not say that.
In regards to the development of a once active and productive farm,
I did not say
I would say
that.
that same logic applies. Thank you.
Thank you.
But, go on. Next, who's next?
My name is Patsy Bevan. First, I was asked to read a portion of a statement that didn't get to be read by Michelle that the rest of the Chino Meadows community had put together. It is not progress that the Chino Gardens residents object to. It's not even the developer's desire to make as much money as he can that we object to. We're capitalists. We are against greedy corporations, and that is how we view someone who doesn't care about the people, who only cares about how much money can be made. We don't disagree that the developers' homes are beautiful. Those homes can be extraordinarily beautiful, but when 15 homes are stacked one on top of the other in a 9.5 acre space, we don't see beauty. We see an area that just becomes ugly. On my own concerns are that, first off, all of these houses are going to be facing the backyards of Chino Meadows. The front yards are going to be facing our backyards. Also, it was stated by the contractor that there are 10 water units and he has to purchase 5 more to make this work. So it would seem that 10 water units is kind of a practical way to say it makes sense that there would not be more than 10 houses on these 10 acres. A lot of the property is not buildable because of the floodplain. We're also concerned that this area it's more dense, the houses are closer together and more crowded than any other area on the west side of, southwest side of the town, except for a mobile home park that's out there. So we knew when the Thielickies died that it was kind of the end of an era, that area would probably become houses. But, and we don't disagree with that, but we would just like to see them conform more to the town code and more to what actually Chino Gardens is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next person, please.
Evening, I'm Andrea Sexton. I live on the south side of Road 2 South, adjacent to this. I'm not going to repeat anything that's been said. I do want to add that the person who shares a property land, who lives just west of the development, he and his wife have no plans to subdivide, love their livestock. They've lost family members to COVID already, and so they just aren't, and had young children living in the house, so they're just not willing to be here. So I've been asked actually to speak for several people in the neighborhood who are my age and older, who just don't feel comfortable being here. One of the things that was brought up earlier was that because of the floodplain, that's the reason for building as many houses on the far east side of the lots, and that even though the planning and zoning people recommended that agriculture could be included, in order to provide housing, safe housing for livestock, the elevations have to be considered in there. So to consider approving livestock for 15 acres of that size, or 15 parcels of that size, and they're all going to be on septic, oh my goodness. I really wonder how feasible that is. The other thing we were told at the last meeting was that even though livestock could be approved for this subdivision, the homeowners association can exclude it and the town will not have the recourse to fight that. So I'm really concerned about that because we really do value the open spaces of livestock. I just want to say that I'm just asking from you to be creative about this. Nobody wants an oppositional anything here, at least I don't. But I'm simply asking you, instead of running this thing through, to fire it right back to planning and zoning and ask them to get creative. Ask them to come up with some new ideas, some inspiration, some collaboration, some way to modify the existing codes so that legally the developer has more options. Why not 4 homes? Why not 5 homes? Why not 6 homes? But why 15? And what it will take is more time, yes. But there's no reason that I can see to have this decision be made so quickly that it completely goes against the values and the sentiments of those of us who hopefully will spend the rest of our lives there. So thanks for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person, please.
I'm Carol Farrell. I think I sent each of you an email. We have the property to the south.
Carol, pull the mic down a little bit.
We have the property to the south, and also I have the corner property in Chino Gardens. We have 15 homes. That's going to be 30 more vehicles at least turning on to 2 South. 2 South is really busy. And Mayor Croft, I tried to get the public works guy. He didn't call me back. So I want to mention this. About 12 years ago, we were told that sewer was coming down 2 South and into Chino Gardens, and it was necessary because of the small size of the properties in Chino Gardens, that it was needed. Okay, well, that didn't happen, but now you want to approve another half-acre, properties, And at some point, this is going to have to be addressed. I mean, you might kick it down the road to another council, but I mean, we were told it's to have sewer on half-acre properties is just too close. Anyway, I feel like the others, Westmar development is just too dense. 15 homes. There will be 2 homes behind some of the ones in Chino Gardens. It's just too dense. He says it'll be comparable to Chino Gardens. 9 homes would be comparable to Chino Gardens. 9 in a row, not 15. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Next person, please. I gave you a couple of minutes.
My name is Matthew Fish. Appreciate you giving me a few minutes tonight. So I share the property line on the north end. I share 320 linear feet with the project. I am the second most affected person in the project. The street, all the headlights will head directly towards my house. I support the rezoning. We're here tonight for a rezoning. We're not here for a conversation about septic or sewer. All that will happen in the technical review. The people that work for ADEQ, the soil engineers, the geologists, the people that actually issue septic permits will determine whether or not that's appropriate. But when I look at the project, my east line is bordered on commercial property. I'm only a little ways off State Route 89. There's 19,000 vehicles a day running north and south right there. I love an agricultural lifestyle, but to have a half-acre dense project just 1,000 feet off State Route 89, I don't think is inappropriate. I think half-acre parcels is a nice medium-density project. I like the product that's being proposed, and I think it would be a nice addition to Chino Valley. There's all kinds of people that are drawn here. Some are drawn here for an agricultural lifestyle. Some are drawn here to retire, right? They want a smaller lot. They want a nice community with an HOA. They want to contribute to our community. They want to support our grocery stores. They want to be employed here. They want to buy fuel here, have their family come and pay bed tax on all the hotels they stay in, but they don't want to have to maintain a big yard. So I think it's nice to have a diverse housing project throughout the community. Anyway, I guess I wrote down a lot of things I wanted to talk about that have already been discussed tonight, but I do support the project being rezoned, which is what we're here tonight, to half-acre lots. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead. You got a minute more, so.
Okay, oh, do I? The only question I have is, as homeowners.
I'm sorry, who are you again?
Lisa Corbell.
Lisa, thank you.
Can the homeowners in the area have a copy of the study that's been done to determine that the 15 septic tanks will not affect our groundwater? Do we get to have a copy of that study?
So I don't know exactly what study you're referring to, but anything is a. So you would.
There is a copy of a study that.
If there was a study done, I'm not sure. If there was one, there
has not been a study done.
I don't know.
So it seems to me like.
Has there been a study?
Frank, the groundwater.
I can answer that, Mayor. No, there has not been a study done for that particular area.
So as I was reading on the county's specifications on these non-conforming septic lots, it did say that if the, I forget how it read, but if the council determines that it's safe, that rule can be waived. So there hasn't been a study. So you're saying just by Scout's honor that it would be safe. We all have wells.
We don't know where it is or not. The study
Right.
determines that, not us. And
Right. So there hasn't been a study.
No.
So you're going to approve
right now,
septic.
This is just a plan that we're approving.
But it's a plan that you're approving without a sewer system.
A whole bunch of other stuff.
I understand, but you're approving it without a sewer system. So you're saying 15 months with
Water tank, what do you get?
Frank.
Well, first of all, we haven't decided whether we're. Yeah.
Right. You can say that's, I corrected myself.
Should I speak to this? far as studies go and septic systems, in a generic sense, when it comes to subdivisions that are, the county has a delegation agreement with the state to review and approve that according to state regulations. So any review and approval and request for studies would be at the county level, which is the state. So the state makes that a hazard. They have regulations that allow them to ask for those sorts of studies if they feel it's necessary.
Well, their regulation says it is.
No, the regulation says in a nitrate management area, there are no nitrate management areas inside the state, but there is a regulation that gives them the authority to ask for that study if they feel the need for one.
Okay, I'm just going on the basic half acre or less needs a sewer system.
The regulations state at a lot level that if it's less than 1 acre and they have a separate water system, they need enough area to support a 4-bedroom house with the septic tank, designed bleach field, and 100% expansion, meeting all the setback requirements. At a subdivision level, they have to prove that it doesn't create an environmental hazard, and those extra requirements that may be needed to are at the behest of the county, which has a delegation agreement with the state for them to those, not the town.
Okay, it'd be real easy to
One more
get
question.
1 acres and not
question?
repeat Chino Meadows.
Who you point to?
That's my only
No.
concern.
So obviously you're concerned with the county or somebody else.
I'm concerned about the stuff that's in half acres.
Gotcha. Thank you.
If I may provide an additional clarification here. So the rezoning deals with conceptual level detail. The preliminary plat is conceptual level detail. All of the design elements and the studies that are going to be done are done during technical review, which is after the preliminary plat is approved. And then they start the construction documents and providing all the additional information for the septics that are going to be used, as well as the county approval, things like that. But that comes after the conceptual plans are approved through the rezoning and the preliminary.
There's mud, okay? Okay, anyone else that'd like to speak? Yes, ma'am, come up, give us your name.
I'm Linda Patterson. My husband and I live catty corner, another 10 acres over. I think the concern of our neighborhood is this subdivision does not conform to the rest of the neighborhood. We are all allowed to own livestock. We're all more ag-oriented and like the wide open spaces. And we really don't want to see that change, because our biggest fear is when a new group or different demographic of people move in, then they start complaining about our animals and the dust and the loud noises, the roosters crowing at the crack of dawn and the donkeys. And we live here for that reason. And that's our main concern.
Okay.
We don't even care if they want to zone it to 1 acre lots with the animal privileges. That would probably be fine with all of us.
Thank you very much. Do we have another speaker? Hearing none, I'm making for a motion to close the
I'll
public
make a
hearing.
motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a
I'll second
second? A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing. Council, do you have any questions of anybody?
Yes.
Any things that just, okay, let's start here with council.
I'd like staff to come up and answer some of these questions about the sewer, which you kind of did. I made notes of everybody's comments. I didn't get every word, but basically the lot sizes, they're not comparable to the rest of the neighborhood. The water, Chino Gardens is what? Half acre. And this subdivision is half acre. It is half. I thought it was a little over half. No, the lots that are being created are half acre in size. 21,780 square feet is half an acre.
So then the Chino Gardens half acres have well and septic on them.
I don't know if they have well.
So
They
you
might
have
have Tesco
they're
water.
Tesco water as well,
They're served by septic as well.
and they're served with septic. And then the comparison of these lots to Chino Meadows?
That is an inaccurate. Chino Meadows are approximately 7,000 square feet. Those were subdivisions that were platted back in the 60s or the 70s without infrastructure or plans to install infrastructure. It was kind of a cluster situation. It's not an apt comparison. These lots are a little more than 3 times the size of any lot in the Chino Meadows.
Okay, just 1 second while I review. There was comments made about the homes being stacked on top of each other. That's not you. Okay, I think that's it. Mr. Best?
There were also...
There's someone think, I'm sorry, the floodplain for the last 2 lots?
There's nothing. They'll have to raise the building pad above the base flood elevation. And that'll be handled during technical review. Frank might be able to speak more to that.
I'm sorry if I'm commanding the meeting.
That's okay. My mic, I'm not sure is working, but.
My mic isn't?
No, I didn't know if mine was.
Oh.
So they might be unhooked for these. So you asked about the floodplain.
No, that was one of the comments with building in the floodplain.
You can. I don't like it. We have that situation. I always use Molly Ray as an example. We would work through technical review to minimize the impact of any of those sheet flows through there that would impact that and design accordingly. A little few concerns that I would be looking at in technical review is not just the amount of water, but the lot-to-lot flow of the water is also of concern to look at and try and minimize during technical review. And also the inundation of the detention pond. If it's underwater, it doesn't do any good for detention, so we need to look at that too.
So this is all stuff you work out in technical review?
They're gonna, if it goes that far, yeah, we need to take a good hard look at it, because we've had some ongoing issues with other subdivisions in the past that I would hope to prevent in the future.
I think that's it for now. Thank you.
And I would say and I don't know if it's my place to interpret the UDO, but the 5 section with the sewers does say it is 1/2 acre or less is the term of that.
Good.
For requiring sewer.
Frank, where does that come from?
It's in the UDO 5.3.4.
Right, but that guideline comes from the state. Am I correct?
No, that's a local.
I think you're wrong.
Town of-
It comes from the state.
No, I'm sorry, but I've researched this. It's town of Chino Valley only.
You're telling Mary's wrong?
Sorry, sir.
Can't believe you said that.
State only requires the setback requirements to be met if there's a different water provider.
But if this goes through and this is proposed to have septic tanks on each lot, it goes to the county for approval.
They would approve them, but as far as the town code goes, it states no septics on 1/2 acre or less. The interpretation here could be that if you divide the total acreage by the number of lots, you get 0.7 because of the open space. But I don't know that that's my position to interpret that
You
as the
certainly
town
confuse the
engineer.
hell out of it, is all I can say.
So,
But that all takes place in technical review.
I'm not sure. I'm
What are
just
you
telling you what
looking
it read.
So I have one more question for Frank. Since he talked about building in the floodplain and lot-to-lot drainage, so what would take place, the subdivision's done, and the third lot from the end says, I want to go to the back of my property and build a 3-car garage?
Can't do that. We've had that come up.
Okay, I'm just asking.
They would have to prove that they couldn't that they wouldn't impede the flow.
Your two best neighbor.
And also not backwater up on the neighbor upstream of them as well.
Okay.
Basically, you have a little mini drainage study done. And then there's code requirements for so many square inches of open feet per square foot of foundation if they build in an inundated area. Garages are a little different than habitated structures as far as, but most of that's building code, not public works. But as far as flood, you have to have an engineer. Due to health, safety, and welfare, I would want an engineer to show that that's not impacting other properties and or impeding the flow.
Okay.
Jamie?
And just,
That's your
just, I
question?
just, yeah, just want to make sure. So
Can we get a
our
full
code
screen?
right now says
We get a
no
full screen.
septics on a half acre or less.
I've got it pulled up and can read it.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure I understood.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure it didn't say less than half an acre. It says half acre or less.
Okay.
Is the exact term.
Okay, we forgot about you, Mike.
I'm good.
Lon, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank
Corey?
Frank is not, Josh, you are the decider for the town here.
Yeah, most of the lots are above half an acre by a few square feet, so they technically are not half acre or less. The overall density is 0.77 dwelling units per acre.
Okay, Corey, anything else?
Curious what Lon has first, I'll follow along, if you don't mind.
Sure.
As far as what?
I know you had some items.
Oh, I asked what I wanted to,
I just, and I've said this many times over the years that I've been sitting here, that this close the door behind me attitude just always amazes me. You know, short of being a native Indian, and I don't see too many of them in here, everybody has impacted the population of Chino Valley at one point in time. So,
Lon, can I see the paper?
the one thing that I have not heard, and I would be open to some sort of privacy fence between the two subdivisions. Am I too late to ask for any public input on just the fence, privacy fence?
Go. From this group.
Okay.
Andrew, we are able to open it up for public comment again?
I should have asked that.
We have actually closed public comments. So we're in a portion that.
I'm pretty sure if you voted to reopen it, you could reopen it.
Can I do it just for that one topic? Is that?
you want to hear from the public as far as the fence or whatever?
Just the privacy fence issue is my only.
As far as I'm concerned, what that one issue, privacy fence. Anybody have any comments? Yes.
Well, I make a motion.
No, we're not gonna go there. I'm asking for input.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have the property, a rental property on the corner of Chino Gardens, and it will back up to the subdivision. And the turning, people turning toward their bedrooms and all, these people would like a fence back there. I mean, I know there are people down the road who say that no, because they want to see the sunset and all, but when you put those homes back there and all, I don't know how you're going to see the sunset. But my rental lady would really like, and I would like one there too.
Okay, so you're a yes.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Anybody else?
They're coming up.
Matthew, right?
My name's Chris Loman. I live on the second house on the left on Damien Way. And privacy fences, brick walls are not Chino Valley. They're high density residential. They are not what I want. It blocks my views. And according to Mayor Croft and the Prescott Times and Signals, what's best for Phoenix and other metro areas.
This is going to
not
be
the best
limited.
area.
Hey,
Whoa.
this is limited.
High
This
density
has this meeting.
Brick
So go on, answer your question about the privacy fence. You want
Thank
it or
you.
not?
privacy fences, brick walls,
Do you want it or
Chino
not?
Valley. I do not want one in my
Okay,
backyard.
thank you very much. Please sit down. Okay. Anybody else that wants to talk about it? Just the question is, privacy fence, you don't even have to get down here. You don't have to come down here.
All right, well, I'll make it very quick. I just wanted to state, in fact, I can show you on this really quick here, sir. My property is right here. Because of these building envelopes and the way that this whole thing is designed, I lose everything. So do I want a brick wall on top of that to spoil everything that I've moved there for? Absolutely not.
Okay.
Can I get your name?
So it looks like we're divided. Some do and some don't. That answer your question?
I'm sorry, I don't know where that question came from.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me.
That answer your question?
Yes.
Can I ask the applicant a question? A question?
Sure.
Okay, you had mentioned earlier that you were open to some sort of privacy screen or
Landscaping.
or landscaping. What did you have in mind? If you could,
You know, a good hedge or land, oh, sorry. Thank you. When we speak about landscape screening, it would be a combination of trees. A good hedge is a photinia. Photinia grows well in this part of the country, and it can be hedged. From a screening standpoint, you know, we're open to some sort of screening there. I think what you're learning is there's certainly a difference of opinion on screens and that type of thing. May I address a couple of issues about these building envelopes in the floodplain? Are we appropriate or we're past that?
We're past that.
Okay. I hope I answered your question.
Okay. So the question is about some kind of screen there, and I don't know where it fit. Some folks want it and some don't want it.
I think a lot of people would be in favor of landscaping,
Landscaping probably is the answer.
landscaping screen.
Yeah, if we go forward with this, I would like to see included in the.
Can we make that a
In the
step
PAD.
that, already in there?
Yeah, the landscaping is already shown on the conceptual development plan, so that will be a requirement.
But it is I know what well, no, I don't know what his plan for landscaping was. I know what the town code for landscaping requirements are. How does this vary from the town codes?
Well, they're showing the
Trees are shown.
right there. Right there.
So I'm seeing
Can
a
you flip
tree
this?
every,
Um,
Half acre.
that'd be more than that because of the frontages.
yeah, I mean, if you want to stipulate one tree every 20 feet or whatever, that would be up to you to add that as a stipulation of approval.
That's what I'm asking for, if that's,
So you want that part of this?
a little denser landscaping requirement along that edge.
When you make your motion, if your motion is to add stipulations, then you would add the stipulation in the
Got that
motion.
written down, Jay?
Landscaping to be increased to one tree per number of feet. Our recommendation is, because that's what our code has for requirements.
Okay.
And the developer, again, had suggested a hedge, specific hedge, aside from, in addition to the trees?
A good plant for a hedge is a photinia of some sort. Do I intend to plant 1,300 feet of hedge there? Probably not. So, I think if the town stipulates that there's trees every 20 feet and we match some of that with some different plantings that are hedge-like bushes, that's kind of what I would expect from the town.
That sounds reasonable. Do we need to add that in, or is that already included in?
No, I would.
Again, I don't see it.
I would stipulate that
Okay.
as, when you make your motion, if it's for approval.
Okay.
I don't live there, obviously, and it would not affect me, but I would think that along that line, there's been comments about headlights and so on and so forth. The road is on that border. I would think that a hedge would block a lot of that. It would be a sound barrier.
Yeah.
And it would not obstruct any more of a person's view. So for me, I would think that would be the way to go.
Then we had a person here that didn't want anything, so.
Well, didn't want to block any, didn't want any view blocked anymore.
And that might be affected by the elevation.
What's your pleasure?
Okay, you get to go. And Joyce, you stopped with Corey.
I think Corey,
I'm done.
You were done. I think Corey was done. Annie, you have anything else?
I just need a minute. Talk amongst yourselves.
Joyce, you have anything?
I've heard all my questions have been answered.
Mine too. So, is there something that you want to add to this? Annie?
Kind of. Okay, so the subdivision to the east are all half-acre lots.
Yes.
And the subdivision on the other side of this proposed dedicated road, yes, is
What other subdivision?
this proposed one.
Oh, okay. the
Okay.
proposed. I thought you were talking about another one.
No, are also half-acre lots. So,
Happy? Is that what you're saying?
well, I am happy. Half-acre lots.
Yeah.
The difference is the shape of the lots. So I understand the residents' concerns that are already existing there. But, and I wouldn't necessarily, never mind. But it isn't out of character for that area. If it's a half acre and it's a half acre, what people decide to build on it is up to them. People need to, their personal property rights, and if they fit everything through planning and zoning and they meet all the requirements, then they are able to do this. It comes to us to make these decisions and get the backlash. But I think everything's already been, all the work's already been done up to this point. And I agree with Corey as far as additional landscaping, other than just the one tree every 20 feet.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a challenge with the floodplain with building, but that's just me.
Can we address, the one thing I saw in my notes that I overshot was the livestock aspect. Can we address that?
What is your question specifically?
Are livestock allowed there? He said outside animals, he didn't really.
There are some livestock that are restricted to 1 per acre. The way our code reads, cattle, horses, and swine limited to 1 per acre. Goat, sheep, fowl, there is no limit.
Okay,
So the half
they can have
acre,
the same amount of animals in this subdivision as they would in Chino Garden.
I don't know what Chino Gardens was allowed in 1970 when they were platted, or 1980 or whatever it was.
Okay. But their livestock's not banned from this neighborhood.
No, the half acres would accommodate the goats, fowl, chickens, things like that. There's no limit on those per
We've got
acre.
ducks.
Does the
If
developer,
people want ducks,
I'm sorry, does the developer plan on an HOA to override that?
I'll let him speak to that. I do know that in the planning commission, he was not wanting to add that in, but.
Please.
What's the question? If you were going to allow
So a half acre parcel, what I would need to understand is what's allowed in the Chino guidelines or rules, what type of farm animals are allowed on half acre parcels. I certainly don't anticipate having, and horses and cows aren't allowed here anyway, right?
No, horses, cattle, and swine are allowed.
Yeah. So it's not our intention to create mini farms here. So what we will allow, honestly, I haven't written any of the CCNRs or any of that for this proposed subdivision. I will tell you that I don't intend to have many farms here. That is not the buyer that I anticipate selling homes to here. But if they're allowed in Chino, and certainly if people want to have domestic pets, that's their own personal rights. I mean, I think some of that is a personal property right owner decision versus what I can tell people what they can and can't do.
But effectively, you can tell them what they can and cannot do with an HOA. So what Josh had explained is that chickens, goats, donkeys, not
Yeah.
fowl. Okay, so ew.
So
So
I
the
haven't
HOA
honestly
can say
addressed that
that.
yet. Would that be part of technical review?
So while restricts CCNRs within an HOA, we do review them when they are written, and that's usually during technical review. Those things are completed before we bring it back for final plat.
Thank you.
So does the existing Chino Gardens, because they were developed back in the 70s, are they are they non-conforming with their animals at this point?
If those cattle, horses, or swine, then yes, they are non-conforming, as those are limited to 1 per acre. But if they've had them for X number of years, I would consider them probably grandfathered in, and we're not going to do anything about that.
Okay, the reason I bring that up is because I strongly encourage as the realtor starts to sell these properties, that is very much disclosed to the buyers, that they may be moving in next to somebody that could have a cow or a goat on the other side of the road.
That's typically buyer beware, doing your due diligence.
And hopefully the realtors are straightforward enough that it doesn't create a problem down the road. Because we've been there.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. That's a lot to ask for a realtor.
Of a realtor, I know it. So.
That's right.
Okay, do we have any steps that need to go with this before I ask that a motion come up?
I'm sorry, sir.
Steps,
Stipulations.
So the trees go in here, the trees will be in this one, not the next.
trees would be steps, anything else?
Do we need to be more specific on the landscaping?
Couldn't hear you.
Or Josh?
Yes, that's what I said. The enhanced landscaping along the east edge.
And Mayor, Mr. Mayor, if I can ask if Josh and the landowner and the property owner are okay with this. Stipulation 1.
I don't understand, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Just a second, we're gonna try to turn you up here.
Okay.
You feel good?
He's not on here at all. No, he's being piped through. I'll let Spencer.
Okay.
Can you
If
relay?
everybody's quiet, we can hear him.
All right, so I'll try and speak clearly. Number 1 in the stipulations in the current ordinance essentially requires compliance with the site plan, the landscaping plan, et cetera. Because we haven't had uniformity in the request, I'm wondering if the property owner is okay with, and if Josh is frankly okay with administering, an addition to that says, provided, however, developers shall provide additional landscaping, provide screening for adjacent lots if requested by the adjacent property owner.
I'll address that.
I can administer that. That's not a problem. But can the property owner speak?
Yes, please.
So I think realistically, what I am here to say is I will abide by what the town of Chino directs me to do in this subdivision. But I do not want to be held to a variety of property owner wishes as we begin this process. So if the town directs us to increase our landscaping, or there's a landscaping ordinance that needs to be followed, I'm happy to do that for the town. But being held to individual property owners' wishes and wants is not realistic.
I agree with you.
I agree.
That is fair.
I agree.
So we do need to add the stipulation of increased, well, at least as far as I'm concerned,
So
piggybacking
would you
court
give us
with
some kind of
landscaping.
stipulation that we can put in this?
The stipulation I would add would be to require 1 tree per 20 feet along the 1,300-foot eastern border of the subdivision, and staggered hedge plantings of the landscaping, the landscape material. What was the plant used?
Photinia is a common.
Similar to the Photinia.
Okay.
Well, that, Jack.
That
Yes,
sounds-
that would be a fuller plant
Yeah.
than just the, so yes, you know what we're after.
Okay, you got that, Jack?
No, not at all. How you doing?
Put what John said.
So you should read, the requirement for landscaping will be a minimum of 1 tree per 20 feet.
1 tree / hedge or
No, per
1
20
tree
feet.
per feet
Okay.
along the 1,300-foot eastern boundary of the subdivision, along with staggered hedge plantings using landscape material such as Photinia.
Long, staggered.
Is 20 feet a little close for trees, or is that about right?
Our code actually stipulates on commercial properties 1 tree per 20 feet. So there is precedent in our code to require that.
Depends on the tree.
Such as a what?
Photinia.
Photinia.
Plant, big plant.
Sure.
Okay, you got it? Nope.
Are we doing a motion already?
We need a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion we adopt ordinance number 2020883, approving the rezoning of approximately 10.54 acres of real property from AR5 zoning district to SR 0.16 PAD zoning with a planned area development overlay zoning district with a stipulation related to farming and agricultural uses with 1 tree every 20 feet along the east 1,300-foot eastern boundary, along with staggering hedge such as Photinia.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll make a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Roll call.
We have a roll call vote.
Well, it is a super,
We need a roll call vote.
Yes, okay. Yes, we do. Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Perkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza?
Yes.
Councilmember Turner?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
yes.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Yep.
And Mayor Croft.
Yes, motion carries. Well, let's move on to item B, consideration, thank you very much, and possible action to approve 1 Decimal Farms preliminary plat to subdivide approximately 10.54 acres into 15 lots with an average lot size of 21,796 square feet, developed over 1 phase. Subject property, accessory parcel number 306-29043B is located approximately 1,000 feet west of the intersection of South State Route 89 and Road West 2 South. Mr. Cook.
This item was presented along with the rezoning. The preliminary plat is being attached as a conceptual development plan for the rezoning, which you approved. We're just requesting approval of the preliminary plat so we can start technical review.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve West Demar Farms preliminary plat subdividing approximately 10.5 acres into 15 lots with average lot size of 1,796 square feet developed over one phase.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Right. Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza?
Yes.
Councilmember Turner?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Yes.
And Mayor Croft.
Yes, motion carries. Let's go on to item C, consideration possible action to adopt ordinance number 2020-882, amending the Town of Chino Valley's Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 4, General Regulations, Section 4.21, sign regulation relating to off-site commercial signage. Mr. Cook.
You want to give them a chance to clear up first?
Yeah, let's give them a chance to move first and then we'll discuss this item, if they'd like to. Thank you for coming this evening.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you is a proposal for the town's off-site sign, or the addition of off-site commercial signage within town limits. It's going to be a short and sweet presentation. Currently, so I'm just going to kind of language if you guys would like, or if you would like to go through the language of the text amendment, however you guys would like to proceed.
I think we'd be able to recognize it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just leave this slide here and I'll just kind of talk through it. Through our research, staff in town in Arizona that allowed off-site signage. So with this adoption of the text amendment, this would be kind of precedent setting for the state. The intent of this text amendment is for businesses that are or other roadways that do not have direct frontage on a roadway to allow these signage on their neighboring property or on a property that has frontage. This issue typically arises from lot splits. The requirements for an op would be a license agreement between and the in which the sign would be placed. This would not be affected by any sale of the rights would still be held and not subject to new ownership. Also subject to sign standards and would not be able to utilize temporary or auxiliary signage, strictly permanent signage. The intent is for a business that had a or has a within a quarter mile of a roadway to be granted this special privilege. However, coming through planning and zoning, they asked that a stipulation be made that this distance be expanded on the based on the approval of a conditional use permit to increase that quarter mile distance on a case-by-case basis. The sign placard needs to be placed within a existing freestanding sign. If there's not one on the property, one could be constructed and the sign could go in that sign, newly constructed sign, such as a shopping center like that. No off-site signage is essentially allowed on vacant business before any off-site signage can be erected on property. The off-site business would be required to have a permanent sign at their location as well, so the off-site signage cannot be their only signage. So this would be also included in part of their total allowable permanent signage square footage. The agreement would have to be renewed with or be taken down until the lease is expired. So, for a recommendation, staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to Town Council to approve Ordinance 2020-882 to amend the Town of Chino Valley Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 154, by amending Section 4.21 sign regulations by amending the off-site commercial sign text with the following addition to the language. Allow businesses further than a quarter mile away from a right-of-way to apply for a conditional use permit to allow for their proposed off-site signage. So with that, I'll open it up to questions or discussion from staff.
UDO committee guys, let's go, you guys, no problem.
We're good with this. I think this is going to hopefully help put a little relief on some of those businesses that are now, set off the highway. So it'll definitely help them.
Questions? Anyone?
No, as long as there's that, more than a quarter mile, I'm happy.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, we adopt ordinance number 2020-882, amending the town of Chino Valley Unified Development Ordinance, section 4.21, related to off-site commercial signage.
Second.
Motion.
All right.
Wow. Motion is
And Mr. Mayor, was the additional comment in there, was the additional stipulation?
We adjourn.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It has been a bundle of fun.
Bye, Andrew.
Bye.
We'll see you Saturday.
You got it.